Whoa. Hi, I'm YJ. Welcome to our course on building iOS apps with SwiftUI. In this course, you'll create a bunch of mildly interesting and very possibly useful iPhone apps. I cannot guarantee how useful, but at least mildly interesting. You'll also learn how to code, and you're going to write lots of Swift. You're going to write lots of parentheses. You're going to have a lot of curly braces. You will have so many curly braces, you will never want to write curly braces ever again in your real life. So, all this is going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a lot more interesting than my facial expressions. So, I am going to take my leave here. Well, my face is, and I will continue to narrate this. So, bye! Here's what we're going to do. We're going to be building stuff in this language called Swift. Right. So right here we have a bunch of bird logos by Apple. This is the Swift logo. Swift is a programming language, right? And in this course, we're going to assume that you're coming in here with maybe a little bit of programming background, but not a lot. We'll teach you from the very beginning. And we're going to be using this framework called Swift UI. It's a modern framework for building user interfaces in Swift. And finally, this logo right here is the very first app that I'd like you to download from the App Store. Just to be clear, in order to join this class, you actually need a Mac, right? You need a fairly recent Mac if possible. You can get something from within the last 3 to 5 years and you should be good to go. Any slower than that and things might be a little bit difficult to work with. So that's just a bit of a warning. So head over to the Mac App Store where you have all these distracting things that you can do. You can download games and get all kinds of apps. But what I'd like you to do is to search for this app called Swift Playgrounds. Search for Swift Playgrounds and click on the very first link. Very likely it's the first link and it looks like this icon right here, and click on download. All right, I already have it, so it says open for me. So I'll give you some time to download it and you can continue when you have it ready. Here we are in Swift Playgrounds. Your Swift Playgrounds will look a little different from mine. I have a whole bunch of playgrounds over here that I've been using in the past. You can click on See All down here, and you can see that there are a bunch of fun little Swift playgrounds that Apple and their partners have created. And if you want to try any of them, just click on in, it'll tell you about it. All these are designed to teach you Swift. By all means, right, go ahead and try them. We're not going to go through them in this class. They're designed to be self-directed and you can learn them on their own and they're lots of fun. Look at how cute this little thing is. It's so cute. But we will be spending our time on Swift UI. But yes, lots and lots of fun stuff, and it does actually get fairly advanced after a while. So yeah, by all means, if you have time, just grab one of these and try it out. It's fun, it's free, and if you have any of these devices, go ahead and try those out as well. So what I'd like you to do is to go back over here and actually click on blank, right? Under more playgrounds, there should be this one called blank, and if there isn't, you can go to see all, and starting points, there should be one called blank. You can click get, and it'll show up over here on your list of playgrounds. So I have one right here. It's a My Playgrounds Copy 2 or something like that. And if you double click on it, it's going to open up. And if you expand the window by double clicking on the header, it's going to expand out into something that looks like this. And on the left hand side, these are different pages within the playground. You can hide the left bar for now if you really want, but I'll just leave it there. It's okay. There's plenty of space. And you can click on Run My Code to see what your code looks like when it runs. Well, there's literally no code right now. So what I'm going to get you to do next is to go grab some code and paste it in, and we will start from there. Here's how you can get the code. First, open up a browser. Let's use Safari here. And type in this URL. Let me just type it out on screen in a really large font. tk.sg/swiftpg template. PG stands for playgrounds and not parental guidance. Okay, so I'm going to make it really large on the screen. There we go. tk.sg/swiftpg template. If you're looking at a video of this somewhere, I will probably put this in the notes below. So let me grab this, copy it, and paste it into my URL. And this brings us to a place where it's got some starter code. And from here, you can just copy this code. Copy, 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 copy. Well, be careful not to copy too much. Don't copy any of that down there. And then press Command C. Command C will copy it. head back to your Swift Playgrounds and paste it. And here you go. This is your Swift Playgrounds starter code right here. See on my screen, there's a big hello world. Sorry, that's not big at all. There's a tiny hello world on the right hand side of my screen, and that corresponds to this text right here. And you're free to change this text, right? So if you click on it, it'll ask you, you can go ahead and start editing it and start changing it to something else. At this point, I'm going to change over to light mode because, well, it's just a little bit dark. So give me a moment. I'm going to switch over right now. Dark. Hey, here we go. Right, this is a lot easier on the eyes. And we're here in with our template code. Right, the moment you click on the text hello world, it no longer turns blue. You can change it. And the first thing I'd like you to do is to change this to your name. So my name is YJ. I'm just going to type in YJ soon over here. And if you want the preview on the right to show what you've typed in, just press run my code. Okay, so it's tiny. We'll fix that in a moment, right? I know it's tiny. And if you want to make some changes, you know, YJ soon, right? You can also do it really quickly from your keyboard by pressing Command R, right? Command R will refresh the page on the right-hand side. Do take a moment to download the code and mess around with the text real quick, and we will resume shortly. So before we start, I'm going to open up a name card example over here, and let's take a look. I'll make this available for download afterwards. It's got everything completed. I'm going to click on run my code, and let's see what it looks like. Ooh, here you go. It's a fancy little name card. It's got my name, it's got my face, obviously that's what I look like, it's got my company, it's got some links. This is not something you would submit to the App Store. No one's going to pay US $99 a year to join the Apple Developer Program to submit this kind of app to the App Store. And you know what? Apple's going to reject it anyway. But it's a nice little example of how to lay out something on SwiftUI really quickly. These links actually work. These are buttons. You can click, or if you're on the phone, you can tap on one of them. The first one will open up an email app and send an email to me. Let's not do that. The second one I think goes to my company website. If yep, there you go. It goes to our company website. I'm going to tap on it, and here we go. Here's our company website. So let's go back and take a look at the name card. And I have to admit, I didn't build this. I got one of my colleagues to help me out with it. And he did a great job. I think it looks fantastic. It's got this nice little gradient. It's got all these icons. I wonder where he got them from. It's got the email button. It's got my home page. It's got a video link. What video link? I haven't uploaded this video. Let's go check it out. I'm sure it's something completely innocuous and no, burn it with fire. No. So here we are. We're back in relative safety. No more rickrolls. My colleague and I need to have some words. The next thing we're going to do is let's make sure that this is a nice environment for you to work in. The font size starts off pretty small. You can increase your font size by pressing Command equals. Right, Command equals will increase the font size. So I'm gonna make it nice and big because I'm doing this in a video. You don't have to unless you enjoy comically large fonts. Speaking of font size, we kind of need to make this text a little bit bigger. And to do that, right, you have this little text over here. You can kind of see some of this like cool little outline. All right, there's some meaning to that. I'd like you to click on the end parentheses, press enter, and type dot bold. All right. And as you're doing that, you'll notice that down here, there's a bit of autocomplete that shows up. There are some suggestions. And when you're done typing something, right, press Command R and it'll run it. Oh, that's not very significant because the font is really small. Let's go get some bigger font size first, shall we? All right. So let's go dot font, open bracket, dot system, open again, size colon 100. And if you've never done any programming, whoa, nice and big, right? If you've never done any programming before, that was a little bit weird. Okay, let me type that entire thing again one more time. All right, so let me just delete that, run it again, get back nice small font. And notice I'm going to the next line, right? If I go to the next line, I can't actually click on anywhere else. I can only put my cursor right here, right underneath the dot. And there's a reason for all this. So I'm going to put dot, right, font, open parentheses, and notice that the close parenthesis shows up immediately. and the autocomplete kicks in, right? There's some stuff you can do, but sometimes it's not super helpful because it gives you a lot of options and you have no idea what you really want right now. So for now, just bear with me, just follow my example, type .system, open parentheses, and notice that it brings up the close parentheses for you, okay? And the last one is no more dot, size colon 100, okay? And press run, R for run, and here you go, your very own gigantic word. So I think I can do without a few holes at this point. There's a few other things you can do other than bold and font and things like that. You can also do italic, dot italic. So let's run that real quick. And there you go, right? Notice that I changed two things at once, right? I changed the length of my last name as well as the whether it's italic. And if you don't think this is bold enough for you, there is an option for you. You can actually do dot font weight, open parentheses, dot black. All right, so dot black is probably the heaviest font weight you can go. Here you go, nice and dark. And you notice that it didn't matter which order I put them in. So that's nice, right? That's nice, I think. And there's a few other things you can do as we're gonna change the color, right? It's kind of jarring to be all black. So for that, you're gonna do dot foreground color. And for this, please smell like an American. This might not be a problem for some of you, but it's a problem for me. I don't like the spelling, but what are we going to do? Dot foreground color. And for this, you can just type dot again, and you can choose, right? Here's when the autocomplete comes in handy. You can just scroll down and there's a few options, right? We'll just use these options for now. You can go and experiment and figure out how to get more custom options. But for now, let's stick with what we have and let's do orange. And let's run it to see. Woohoo, nice. If you want some background color, dot background, open parentheses. And this one, you need to type slightly different. Color, capital C, dot black. Okay, run this. All right, looking good, looking good. And I want to add some padding before I do the background color. I want to add some padding before I do the background color. And there you go, right? Very fashionable piece of text right here. So I'd like you to try this out, all right? Go ahead and try out some of these modifiers. These are all called modifiers. And I'd like you to experiment. What happens if you put padding right at the end after background? Right? And I'd like you to think about why that's the case. I hope you've had a chance to play around with the modifiers, and if you haven't tried putting the padding below the background, let's see what happens. Right, so I'm going to select it, I'm going to cut it by pressing Command X, and I'm going to paste it back and run it with Command R. So I'm going to use these keyboard shortcuts often. Oh, there we go, right? So what happens here is that we set a background before we added some padding. And remember, padding is kind of like, the space between you and the wall. To use a less pleasant analogy, it's like a padded cell, right? It's the distance between you and the wall. They put padding there. So in this case, if you put a background color and then you implement the padding, it's not going to give you the nice black border around your text. But if you put a padding first and you put your background color, it will give you the padding. Okay? I hope that makes sense. If you'll notice that what I just did, I also left a space over here. That's perfectly fine, right? It's okay. Swift doesn't complain if you leave spaces between lines, right? But as a matter of style, it's good to just, press backspace and keep it all together, right? Keep it all together. So this is one text element, right? It's a text view. It's called a view. And it's got all these different modifiers. And these modifiers are applied sequentially. Alright, now we're really bored with having just one view. We're going to have another view on the screen. And in order to do that, you need something called a V-stack. A V-stack stands for vertical stack. And for this part, you're going to have to pay attention to how I do this. I'm going to create a space above the word text and type V-stack. Capital V, capital S. And then space and type a curly brace and press enter. And now I have this thing called a V-stack. And this part is slightly tricky, so just look carefully at my screen before you're trying on your own. If you move your mouse cursor over this curly brace, right, there's a little handle that shows up. Well, these two dots there, imagine it's a handle. If you click and drag, you're going to be able to use this to kind of surround the text. Did you see that? I'm going to do it again. I'm going to undo. And look carefully, I'm going to move my mouse over the closing curly brace and drag it. Drag, right? And check out the fun animation. Wee, 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 wee. I could do this all day, right? But I won't. So I'm just going to move it down to encompass the text. Okay, and you'll notice that the text is now indented. The text is now one level in, right? Let me undo it one more time. The text used to be over here. After I drag it, text is over here. This is one way that we create some kind of visual hierarchy of what views are contained in other views. Okay, so right now this text is contained within this VStack right here. Now that we have this VStack, it does nothing right now, but we want to add something else after it. So for this, we are going to add an image. Okay, this part's interesting. So to add an image, you can add a photo of yourself, and well, I'm in less than ideal lighting right now, but I'm going to turn on my camera and take a photo of myself. Let's try it out. So I'm going to type image, open bracket, and I'm going to type UI image. Okay, it's the first autocomplete here. So if you like the first autocomplete, you can press enter. And you're going to get this blue color placeholder. And in order to take a photo, I'm assuming you're on a Mac with a camera. Press plus over here and choose this picture button over here and take photo. Okay, so I'd like you to make sure you go somewhere you can take a photo. Oh, that's me. Hi. Right. So lighting is not so great, but I'm just going to take a photo anyway. That's a terrible photo, and I will use it. So click on use photo, and it's going to show up right here, this tiny little thing over here that has a little thumbnail of my picture. Fantastic. Let's press run my code, and here you go. All right, so let's take a moment to get this done. Let's go get yourself a VStack and an image underneath your text. Did you manage to get a scary looking photo of yourself in here? I hope you did, because I really enjoyed this photo. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to come add a mask around it. And this mask is going to make it such that I have a circle around my head. So it's a nice little circular profile picture. So to do that, I'm going to use a modifier. So after the image, press enter, type dot, and I'm going to use mask, open parentheses, circle, open parentheses. And it's going to close the parentheses for me every single time. So I'm just going to press run. And it's going to, oh, there we go. Right, it's put it into a nice little circle. Pretty easy to get this done. You can also try other things if you don't mind the square, right? If you don't mind the square, you can remove this and try a different option that's called corner radius, right? Corner radius will give you a nice rounded rectangle based on some kind of radius that you define. So I'm going to put 30, right? 30 pixels, and it's going to become like this. Okay, some of you might prefer that. And if you change this to some really large number, it gets slightly ridiculous, but yeah, it could be nice, right? But I'm going to stick with the circle. Okay. All right. So that's my profile picture right here. And what if I want some space in between the two? Well, I can just add some padding, right? So here's a little trick. You can do a padding again over here. Nothing stopping you from applying the modifier one more time after you've gotten some padding. All right. And if you want some padding here as well, sure, you can go ahead and add some padding here as well. Okay, so that's a padding modifier, and it will move your user interface elements around. And what I like to do is I'd also like to surround this little box. So this VStack, right? Think of this VStack as a box. This VStack can also have its own styles, right? So I'm going to click on the end of the VStack, right? This is the end of the VStack, as we know from just now. I'm going to press enter and type dot. I'm going to give it a background color. So background color dot, I don't know, green. Let's try this out. Oh, there we go. Right, so now it's beginning. My little thing's beginning to take shape. Let's add a bit of padding right before we do this. Right, so I'm gonna add a padding. Okay, and if you really want, you can actually define how much padding you want by giving it a number. So I'm gonna put a padding 100, and it's actually going to increase the padding size. Okay, it looks a little bit better, I think. And try out other things. You can go ahead and add. Well, if you like this one, you can go ahead and add the corner radius to this, right? Corner radius 50. Okay, all right. So this is a little profile picture, right? And maybe what you can do from here, right, other than trying to follow along and adding your own little customizations and things, is you can add another piece of text underneath, which says something like, oh, aspiring iOS developer. I'll leave you to try that out. What we're going to do next is, I'm going to tell you about a modifier that I really like and I forgot to tell you about. It's called shadow. So dot shadow, open bracket. Let's give it a number of what radius. You have a couple of options, right? But if you look down here, there are two options to do autocomplete with, and one is just radius. And if you click on it, it's going to ask you how much of a shadow radius you want. If you don't know what that means, just give it a small number and try it out. Press run. And here you go. Can you see the subtle little shadow that just popped up? Right, there's a little shadow, gives it a nice little 3D effect, and you can add this to, you can add this to your image, you can add this to your name, you can do whatever you want with it. And I don't think I like this thing in black, so I'm gonna change it to yellow and see what happens. Oh, that is awful. I like it better now. Okay, so I also asked you to put another piece of text underneath, so I'm just gonna put text here that says iOS instructor and grinning maniac. Okay, and run this. And here you go. It's a little bit small, and you know what? I can actually copy over these things, copy all my modifiers, and just paste them over here. Right? Just paste them over here, and you're applying them here. It's well, the font size is a little bit big, so let's change this back down to maybe 40. Let's try. Okay, and maybe I want a bit more padding, like maybe 20 over here, and this is still too big. Let's go down to 25, and okay. Notice what happened when I added a shadow to the Z stack. Alright? I'm not sure if you noticed, but all these things now have shadows as well. And this is one thing you can do. So if you ever want it such that you apply something to everything inside a group, you can add the modifier over here. I think what I like to do now is I like a bunch of little buttons that people can tap on and open links. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a H stack. Okay, I'm going to create an H stack. If a V stack is vertical, you can imagine what an H stack is, right? The H stack is obviously horizontal, right? Horizontal. What goes inside H stack? We are going to need icons and for email, website, and YouTube URL, right? So you can use this to rickroll your friends. First things first, we're going to need to download an app to figure out how to get all those cool icons that we saw just now. For this segment, I can just give you the link, but it's probably easier if you just go to your web browser and searched. So what you need to search for is SF Symbols Mac. Right, just search for it. I'm using my favorite search engine because it features a duck. You can use your favorite search engine. Everything should give you SF Symbols by Apple Developer. Click on it and you can scroll down. So SF Symbols are a whole bunch of icons that Apple has created for iOS developers to use. Well, not just iOS developers, all kinds of developers for Apple platforms. There are 2,400 symbols, but that's mainly because there are many variations on the theme. But nevertheless, it's free. If you were to buy these icons to use, they will cost maybe like $50, $100, $300 out there. And this is free, so fantastic. The only thing is, you need to download an actual app before you can use it. So I'm going to download this SF Symbols app. In case you've never downloaded an app from the rest of the internet, because I asked you to get Swift Playgrounds from the Mac App Store, you can just press download. And what it'll do is it'll download to your downloads folder. And in Safari, it's up here. You can click on this thing over here, right? And you get this DMG file. You double click on it. In Chrome or any Chrome-like browser, it's going to be at the bottom left-hand corner. And what happens is that you get this little window over here, which has a PKG file. Double click on it, and it's going to bring you through the installer. So I'm just very quickly going to install it, and it's going to, when it's done, it's going to show up inside my applications folder. So it's pretty fast, right? And I will run it afterwards. Okay, they'll ask you whether you want to delete the installer. By all means, by all means. So after that's done, you can go into your applications folder and look for SF Symbols. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Apple apps, I'm sorry. SF Symbols. Click on it. And here you go. these are all the little symbols that you can use inside your apps. And all these icons are going to be handy. They all have, they're all nicely designed by Apple. Well, it's Apple, right? It's got to be pretty nicely designed. And you can search for them. So you want to search for like a person. There's going to be a whole bunch of people, including upside down people. Fantastic. You want to search for cat. There are no cats, but oh well, close enough. So in the future, I'll give you some ideas of where else you can find icons. But for now, I'm a bit sad about no cats. Are there dogs? There are no dogs. All right, this is not as fun as I hoped. All right, I am disappointed, but I will live with my disappointment. Let's go back to Swift Playgrounds. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring in each of these images and put them in a row. 1, 2, 3. Okay, underneath my little tagline over here. And at this point, I just want to take a look at all the code that we've written. We have so much code over here. We have to be able to kind of identify which curly brace belongs to which matching pair. So over here, this VStack right here, it matches up with this VStack down here. Right, we put so much stuff inside this VStack. Okay, and this HStack is just going to get really complicated because it's going to have a whole bunch of stuff inside it as well. Okay, so just be aware, we're going to end up with situations where there are all these little curly brackets and stuff at the end, but the tools that we have, right, will try and help you out as far as possible. So just do try to make sure that you have this working, right? If you have any issues along the way, just let us know, right? We should have a forum for you somewhere and you can try and get some help. If you're in the HStack, right, if you have the HStack, if you're in the HStack, I'd like you to make an image, right, an image. And inside here, just do system name. And I'm going to do a website. And let's go back to SF symbols. Is there anything that describes the web? No. All right. Well, I kind of know what I want. I want the Safari icon, right? Safari is the browser of choice for Mac and iOS. So I'm just going to head over here and I want system name Safari. Okay. So that's my first little button over here. And there you go. It's tiny, but that's fine. Let's go choose a couple other icons. Have them go anywhere you want. I would like one that is for email, right? And the other two can be for websites. Choose 3 icons, and I'll meet you back here afterwards. Did you pick out your favorite images? Let me put mine in. I need one for email, like I mentioned. So system name : envelope. Okay. I'm pretty sure that's what it's called. There you go. This tiny envelope right here. And I'm gonna have one more that's image system name. I'm gonna put in a link to my video page. And for that, I need video, I guess. Yeah, here we go. Here's a bunch of video calls. I think it's called like movie. There you go, film. All right, so it does actually work with names that aren't quite exactly what you typed in. So let's go with film instead of film fill. And here it is. And so an HStack, right? An HStack is just stuff that's put next to one another in a horizontal row. It goes left to right in most languages, but not all. In some languages, they go right to left. Okay, so we call this the leading item, and we call this the trailing item. We don't call it left. We don't call it right. The leading item is first, and the trailing item is at the end. Okay, and well, we kind of want these to be slightly bigger. And there's a couple of ways to do this, but I think the easiest way is to just treat these as text and apply a font size to all of them. Now, if you want, you can pause and figure out how to do this on your own, but I'm going to count to about 5 and I'm going to show you how to do it. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Did you do it this way? I'm going to add the font modifier to the entire HStack, right? .font, .system, size, 30, and run it. Okay, so 30 is still not that big. I'm just gonna experiment with these, maybe 60 or something like that. Okay, right, that's pretty nice. Okay, each of them has a little font modifier. Yeah, well, I'm beginning to not quite enjoy the shadow anymore, right? So you're just gonna get rid of that and see how it looks. Okay, I think I like it better without the shadow, right? So maybe I'll add the shadows back in for different things afterwards. But what else can I do? I can change all the colors at once by applying it to the HStack. So I'm going to press dot. and change this to dot foreground color. Remember that, okay? And I'm gonna press dot, and what goes well with green? Clearly purple, right? Like any supervillain, we need a purple color over here, and this looks awful, but I will stick with it. All right, and maybe you're gonna give them all some padding, right? So dot padding. Padding that I just gave is padding for the H stack, and the padding does not actually translate into the individual images. So I do need to give each of them some padding. So I'm gonna go over here, dot padding, dot padding. All right, and you can take a look at my keyboard shortcuts. All right, Command left and right will actually bring my cursor back and forth in a line, and these are all going to be very useful when we do our actual iOS development in Xcode. Okay, this looks pretty good to me. I hope you got something like that. And of course, if you want them to be different colors, by all means, by all means. The last thing we're going to do is we're going to make these links active. And for that, we're going to have to introduce something that's a little bit complex. It's not what I'd like to introduce at this point if I could help it, but I'd like you to type this out. So far, you've been typing stuff that's fairly easy to type, right? Nothing that's super weird, just a whole bunch of parentheses and curly braces like I promised earlier in the video. But now this thing makes absolutely no sense, right? So first of all, make sure you type this in the right place. It's got to be after this line that says struct my view, view. Press enter, preferably twice. Type at, right, the ampersand, at environment, open parentheses, backslash dot open URL, space, bar, open URL. Okay? I'm not going to explain this now, but one day I will, I promise. So this is just a little helper function that lets you open the URL, opens a URL, and the URL is of course the location of a website, if you will. Okay, a uniform resource locator is what it means. So I'm going to scroll down, and I'm going to apply a tap gesture to this image right here to make it into a button. So I'm going to press enter over here. I'm going to type in on tap gesture. Look at the autocomplete down here. It's right here. Okay. And for this, I'm going to press open curly brace. And this part, again, is a little bit complex, but just bear with me. Try and get this right when you're typing it. Open URL, open parentheses, URL, open parentheses, string, colon, give it a URL, and it's got to have the HTTP in it, right? So this is my company website, thinkacademy.com. And move to after the first close parentheses and type an exclamation mark just for emphasis. Open this URL is what you are demanding of Swift. And when you're done, if you press run my code, it should not give you any errors. And if you want to test it out, you can just put your mouse over here and tap on this, and it's going to open the website for you. So that's what you can do to add an on-tap gesture to all three of your buttons right there. Okay, you can just copy this entire thing. Make sure you copied all the way down the curly brace. But what if you get it wrong? Right? What if you forget the exclamation mark? So let's show you what happens when errors occur in Swift Playgrounds. If you have an error, if you see over here, there's going to be a little red dot over here. And this red dot is going to prevent your code from running, right? And what happens is that when you try and run it, it will show you that there's an error. And here's a bunch of suggestions. At this point, you might not understand what the code is trying to tell you. You have no idea what coalesce using question mark to provide a default when the optional value contains nil means. Okay? But one of these is actually the correct answer, right? The correct answer was to put the exclamation mark. So that's perfectly fine, right? You can try the solutions. So I'm going to try the first one, okay? And it asks you to fill in a default value. I have no idea what a default value is. So maybe I don't want to do this method. I'm going to Command Z, undo, and I'm going to choose the other option, press fix, and that one seems to work, right? That one seems to work. Now I can clap on this, and it can open a URL for me. So you're going to see a whole bunch of errors. Okay, you're going to see a whole bunch of errors as you're typing. You're going to make some mistakes, but that's okay, right? Give this a try, and I will go through a little bit more about errors in the final part of this video. At this point, some of you might be a little bit behind. You might have run into some error along the way and you couldn't proceed and you couldn't get, your face here, or you couldn't get this text, or you couldn't get these buttons in because you ran into some error. I'm going to show a few common errors and we'll try and fix them. And if all else fails, I'm going to give you the link to all this code and I'm going to need you to kind of compare your code against mine and try and figure things out. Okay? So first things first, one of the most common errors is you have deleted stuff by accident. So for example, you see this thing right here, this font, right? It's got two closing parentheses, right? One here and one here. What if you delete one? What happens? You press run my code. Well, Swift Playgrounds is actually smart enough to try and tell you that, hey, I need to match this opening parenthesis, right? But it's like, well, is the error down here? Maybe it has no idea, right? It gets a little bit confused because it doesn't actually know where you intended to put the closing parentheses. So for this, you just need to be very careful. You just need to open up this font and see where the closing parenthesis is. It's not down there. That's a bit silly, right? So if you look at this, this has an opening, but it doesn't have a closing. So I'm going to put this over here. So that's one. Another is you might have put your modifiers in the wrong place, right? So for this, I'm going to zoom out a little bit, Command minus, right? Gonna look at my code all together, right? Look at how much code we've added. What if you put something in the wrong place? Like this thing, font system size 60. I'm just going to, let's say, just put it down here by accident. So it's just going to give you an error, and it says, reference to member font cannot be resolved without a contextual type. That is a lot of syllables to tell you that you put it in the wrong place. That's one of the issues with programming errors. It makes sense to people who understand programming, who understand the language, who are pretty experienced with it. Someone who's brand new to this will be like, what is this? And then they'll be very sad. All right, so for this, I don't have any good advice. I just need you to be pretty careful about where you place things. Start bit by bit, right? Don't type out entire chunks of code. Definitely do not type out this entire thing all at once and expect it to work. We started off with just one text, and then we added a VStack around it, and then we added an image, and we added more text, and we did some copy and paste. Okay, sometimes zooming out helps, so you know that this text is next to this image, is next to this text, is next to this HStack. Okay, I'm just going to add in the buttons for the other two. I'm going to copy this on tap gestures. And for this, right, some of you might paste it and it's going to be over here. That's fine, I guess. All right, that's fine. It's not going to look great. It's still going to work though, right? It's still going to work. If I tap on this, it will still happily open up my on tap gesture for me, but it's not going to look great, right? So this is just a style issue, right? Swift doesn't care about all these spaces. So what we should do is we should press enter and bring it to the next line. In Xcode, I'll show you a little shortcut to do this formatting, but it doesn't quite work in Swift Playgrounds, right? So for now, just press enter and try and align all your modifiers. See all these dots in a row, right? That should make you happy after a while. So I haven't told you how to get the email opening. For email, you have to type mail to : all right? And then you have to put in an email address. So I'll put in my email address. So yjsoon@tk.sg. So drop me an email, right? If you're interested in writing emails. Yeah. So this is the standard way of creating an email URL. If anyone has done web development, you might have seen this before. So last one over here, paste this over here. And for this, I think the best thing we can do now is to go find a Rickroll and copy and paste it over here. So right click over here. Oh, a 10-hour Rickroll. Copy link and paste it over here. That's it, right? Now when I test my app, I'm going to be able to open my website over here. Ooh, why didn't it open? There we go, it opens, all right? If I tap on this, it'll open my email program. I don't really want to show that on video, so I'll avoid that. And if I tap on this, I will, oh no, what have I done? What have I done? Oh no, 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 no. We're almost done with our little app. And the last thing I want to do is, I just wanted to show you what to do with this white background around your name card. So you can actually do something with it. Let's say you don't want a green color background around part of your screen. All right, you want a green color background around the entire screen. How do we do that? Right, so let's delete away this background right here. Press run. And here you go. All right, it's now a white background or a dark background if you are using a dark mode. What I want to do is I want to put all this inside another stack called a Z stack. So clearly, H stack stands for horizontal, V stack stands for vertical, and Z stack stands for horizontal. It's just X, Y, and Z, right? The Z axis, if you've done enough math, is the third dimension. It comes out of the page towards you instead of the X axis and the Y axis. So why they don't call this the X stack and Y stack? I don't know. I don't know. I'm not Apple. Okay. Anyway, sorry. Enough of that. So I'm just gonna go up here, type Z stack, and open curly brace and press enter. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to use this thing, going to use this little handle to swallow up the entire VStack. So I'm going to pull it all the way down, and it's going to get a little bit buggy because it's doesn't actually like doing that. All right, so I just pulled it all the way down, and I think I pulled it to the right place, but I can't tell. All right, and this part's a little bit tricky, I gotta say, right? If you notice, when I was doing that, my computer hung a little bit, right? So let me show you one more time. Z stack, right? If you drag this, right? So you see it's like, what are you trying to do? Stop it, stop. Right. But if you do it enough, I think it will let you do it properly. I guess you don't actually need to be dragging it around like this, okay? You could just go to this curly brace, delete it, scroll down to the right place to add a curly brace, and that's right here, and add another curly brace. But that's pretty difficult, right? That's actually pretty difficult. It's so difficult to tell where the where the V stack ends. It's fine, you can try it out, right? And here's another side effect of doing it this way. Now your Z stack and your V stack look like they're at the same level, right? And you know what I've been saying, right? All this indentation, right? It's a great visual marker of what belongs to where. But this totally works, right? This totally works. But it's not great. So how do you get your indentation working? You can select all the code that you want to indent. That's all this. And press the command square bracket key, and it will move everything to the right by one level, indent everything to the right by one level. There's also another way, right? You can actually select your entire code, command A, and then press Control I. Command A selects all the text that's in your selection zone, and press Control I to re-indent everything properly. This is going to come in really handy when we go into Xcode. Okay, so the Z stack. So this Z stack, what we want to do is we want to actually just add a background color. And to add a background color is surprisingly easy. Just type color dot black, perhaps. Right. So I do want something, a black background. All right. Press run. It's going to have the entire thing turn black. Okay. So that's pretty much it, right? That's it for the content of our first lesson. I would like you to experiment with this and make something interesting. You'll notice that this is not quite like the one that I demoed to you, the one that my colleague made for me. You can go experiment and put things in different places, make something interesting, and I would like you to share it at our Padlet, right? That's a place I'd like you to share your code. So where to go for the Padlet? Let me type it up, padlet.tk.sg/scc1. Okay, very simple. Padlet.tk.sg/scc1. I'm going to make it really big and put it on the screen for, 5 seconds so we can all stare at it. Stare at it. Stare at it. Stare at it. Are you done staring at it? And I'm going to open the URL. And this is well, at the time of writing, it's a blank Padlet. And there's nothing in it. To put something in, just press plus and start keying in your thing. So here's my name card. What I'd like you to do is to submit a couple of things. I'd like you to submit a screenshot of your name card. So how do you take a screenshot? You press Command-Shift-4 on the Mac. Select your thing. All right. Press, and here you go. It shows up in the bottom right-hand corner. Drag this into here. Okay. Did that work? There it is. Okay. So you can get rid of the previous one, delete the previous post. And from here, you can edit. You can say who you are. Right, this is YJ. And I'd like you to submit your code as well. Right, how do you submit your code? Okay, so for this, I don't want you to copy this and paste it inside here because it's just going to be a whole many lines of text, giant chunk of text. I would like you to paste it inside what we call a haste bin. And for that, the URL is as follows, code.tk.sg. You're going to see this tk.sg everywhere in our videos. Okay, code.tk.sg. Then you make it large and we can stare at it for the prerequisite 5 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Done. So code.tk.sg is our little haste bin. And when you open up the website, you get this little cursor here. Select all your code. Remember how to select? Command A. All right. How to copy? Command C. Go over here. Command V to paste. And this part is probably the only tricky part. You have to press save by pressing Control S because it's a website. You have to use Control S, or you can tap on this diskette icon, a relic of computing history. And now the URL has become a unique link, and I'd like you to paste it inside here. Okay, and there we go, right? This is a full project right here. It's got your link, it's got a link to your code. If you click on it, if someone else clicks on it, they're going to be able to see all your code, right? They can copy it, right? I think if you copy it, it might copy the line numbers. So you might need to click on this button over here that says just text. And you can copy all this and can try out other people's name cards. The only thing that doesn't work is the image, right? You need to kind of replace it with your own image afterwards. But everything else should be the same. All right. So this is also how you can get access to all the code that I've typed up in the last however many minutes of my video. And it's a chance for you to click on this and try it out for yourself. Just copy it and paste it in, replace this with your own picture, and you can see how it looks. All right, thanks so much. Hope you had fun joining us. Please give this a try. Experiment with different colors, and you can even go online and find other ways to do modifiers and other elements that you can add. And I'm looking forward to seeing all your projects. Whoa! Hey, I'm back. So here's a quick summary of what you've learned. You wrote some SwiftUI code which got translated into an app's actual user interface. And that's pretty remarkable. You learned that UIs comprise of stacks. Like stacks are like pancakes. Pancakes are delicious. Pancakes. And pancakes can, like stacks and pancakes can go vertically. They can go horizontally or horizontally. I don't know, right? It's a Z stack that's back to front. You used a bunch of views to make things like text and images. You used SF symbols to get free icons. No need to hire a designer. Lots of free icons from Apple. Thank you. And you applied various modifiers to get colors and backgrounds and font sizes and all kinds of cool decorations. And there's still a lot more out there. So that's a lot, right? Your challenge now is to go make a cool name card, right? Send it to us at the link below and have fun. Bye! Wait, was it not becoming smaller? Oh, there.